Greetings and salutations, and welcome to another episode of Heartfelt Conversations with Waithera Kibinda. I am Waithera Kibinda. Thank you for engaging with us, talking with us, commenting. Thank you for everyone sending a text. We are grateful. We are seeing it. Keep the feedback coming. Now, Heartfelt Conversations is a safe space where we talk about things that really impact our lives, but we cannot naturally have them in public spaces. So today is another great encounter, another great conversation with a dynamic duo. So get your notebook, have your coffee, your tea, your porridge, whatever you're having today. Fasten your seatbelt as we talk about couples and cash. Yes, you heard me right. Couples and cash. And today on Heartfelt Conversation, I am joined by David Sijeni, who's also commonly known as CJ. And for today's discussion, that will be his name. Awesome. He's an author, he's a coach, but his full-time job is that he's a husband and a father. And he also leads a church, and that we will wait to hear. Yeah. I'm also joined by Rogoro Sijeni. She is an, I struggle saying this word, experiential learning consultant, coach, a thought leader when it comes to building teams, building families. And she has the great privilege of being a relative of choice to David Sijeni, CJ.
Oh, yeah.
So if you haven't figured it out, these guys are married, I think, for the last how many years?
To each other.
To each
other. For the
other.
last 16 this year.
16 years, yes. So I was right, 16 years. And today they'll be talking to us about couples and cash. And I will start with you, Mr. Sijeni. CJ, I think I need to call you CJ.
CJ works just fine with that.
Yes. So please, what have I missed in your introduction? What would you want my audience today to know about you?
Wow, that I'm passionate about people. Mm-hmm. From a while back, I realized I really enjoy seeing people find answers to their problems.
That's a unique thing.
At first, I thought what I needed was a job in marketing.
Yes. Hey.
And I ended up in sales.
Yeah.
But a few years after doing the job for a while, I realized, wait a minute, I actually love to solve problems and help people find solutions to their problems.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm passionate about. So the reason I do what I do right now is people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the heart of it is people.
At the heart of it is people.
And together with your lovely wife, you head a church.
Yes, we together head a church, Mavuno Church, Zion City.
Yes.
Based in Zambezi.
Where? Yeah.
And we practically started it in our home.
That's nice.
Like inside our house.
That is the true definition of I love people.
Yes.
Wow.
But it was really also in obedience to the direction God has been leading us. As I was mentioning earlier, really a while back, after training people, coaching people, having conversations with people about books and courses and things, God asked me one day, you're trying to fix heart problems with head medicine.
Wow.
Ebu, figure out this thing.
Yeah.
And just like that, and of course, given the space that we're in and with encouragement from our ministry leaders, we planted a church.
A church. As young as you were.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what's fascinating about this story?
Tell.
Is that by the time Rogoro was deciding that she was, do I really want to live with this guy? It was like, Aki, this guy will one day come and tell me, God has said we start a church.
When
her wildest dreams of fears have come alive.
You're truly the man of her dreams. Really.
You can say that again.
Please help us as we hear all the good things. What do we need to know about? What's your introduction like?
Oh, wow. My introduction is actually normally quite simple. You've nailed it. I'm passionate about the outdoors. I'm passionate about experiential learning. I'm passionate about teams.
Yeah.
So everything I have done in the last many years.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say,
we can't say that.
Know how old I am.
Yes.
It has really just been around that, helping teams to figure out how they can work together. But I think the only thing that I would add to that is that I'm passionate about the youth.
I love that. Because then it just combines both your efforts and your energies. And it contributes to today's conversation on couples and cash. A famous musician once said, "What's love got to do with it?"
They were right.
They were right. So, Rogoro, I want to ask you, what's the intersection of finances and love? And can there be harmony without the money?
The intersection between finances and love. Interesting question. I've always wanted to say that. Anyway.
Welcome.
That's a very good question you ask, Waidera. Anyway, I think you can't separate them. So you come, you fall in love, and there's this really nice guy. Oh my God, I love him, and I don't care what it is that he does.
Yeah,
all those things. Oh, he doesn't have money. It's okay. We love each other. Great.
Yeah.
I honestly, I believe that God put that in there, because otherwise, if it wasn't there, no one would ever get married. If you just knew that the moment you get in now, you have times 2 of everything, you're just like, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
So then you get married. And I think the first test is always the wedding itself. If you choose to do, the big white wedding, even if it's not big and white and it's still, going to see the parents, whatever, it costs money. And there you just start thinking, wow, okay, so how much are we going to spend again? And you're still in love and you really want to get married and you get in.
Yeah.
And then you start now running a home. And normally the first year is not a biggie. It's just the 2 of you. I mean, how much can you possibly eat?
Surely. As a matter of fact, the rent has been merged. Utilities.
It's the food now, we only use we cook once. You don't cook in 2 different gas. Everything gets in the first year. Maybe the second year there, you probably live in a small house. And then the babies start coming. And then that's when everything starts becoming, a bit more expensive. Many times your jobs as well, you're doing much better, so you decide, Kawangware doesn't look very good on us. Let's go to Lavingware. Just a little bit over there.
That border.
And your costs start becoming a bit more expensive. Now, she's pregnant and we need a car. That's how we got our first car. She's pregnant and we need a car. So let's get a car. And, all the costs start checking in. And then you realize that, so now we have to agree. Like, I can't just go and buy myself he can't just go and buy himself his dream car. No. Because dream car plus, we want our child to be able to go, I don't know to what school, we need to save or whatever. So that's where the intersection comes in. For your entire life as a single girl, as a single guy, you always had literally control of everything you did.
Wanted.
Now, do I have to, before I buy that really expensive red bottom shoe, I have to tell them, do red bottom shoes exist in this country? They do, eh?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so, I have to tell him or I have to hide the receipt, because last week we discussed about I don't know getting what, now we couldn't afford it, and so I think that's where the intersection comes in.
Yeah.
You really have no choice because you're in the same space. Yeah.
Wow. I love hearing that, because the circumstances then make you have to adapt. Because you're in that space, you have no choice but to, and then everything really, your mother calls and says, Waidera, send me 10,000 shillings. Okay, so do I send? And what about when his mother calls and says, send me 100,000 shillings? We are coming to that. Because I think those are some of the conversations I've had and people have said we are fighting over or disagreeing about. But CJ, tell me, how did you see your parents handle money, and how did that experience impact you in your singlehood and then in your married life?
Whether who in our generation saw money in their parents' hands, except when you're being given to go to the shops. I think for us, the money conversation was a very difficult one as a family, and so I saw my parents barely saw them handle money. I saw how money was moving. I saw the effects of money. I knew when there was no school fees or when there was school fees. But I don't remember being included necessarily or asked
What do you
to
think?
participate in that conversation.
Yeah.
I think the one time I remember my father retiring he took early retirement.
Yes.
When the organization was restructuring.
When they had
And
golden handshakes.
Exactly.
Oh.
And apparently a number of them left at that time.
Yes.
Because they were in their 40s and they still had their lives
It was
ahead of
lucrative.
them. And the money was good. And my dad actually took the golden handshake and went into business.
Oh.
Now, I knew my mother used to, where she would write all her money, kind of expenses, I can't remember if it was a budget, it was an expense sheet. I knew she used to have a notebook somewhere for money, but I never got to get the details of it. But for my dad, there was just money. And I remember, especially around that time, Biashara was good. He had entered into a new space and it was a growth space and he grew quickly, as in he left work in 96, maybe 94. And by 96, 97, the business was doing well.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing brochures in the house for, we're about to buy a new car, Nini, we built. I'm like, hey, okay. But what I remember was in that time, I would ask my dad, I need money for transport. He would give me 200 bob.
Wow.
200 bob was a
lot of money.
Yeah. Then I would ask him, I need money for lunch. He'd give me another 200 bob. Then I would tell him, I need money for snacks. He'd give me another 200 bob. And there are weeks when I would end the week having lived my life well and still have at least 1,000 bob in storage because everything
You were
I asked
deep
him.
state.
And we're talking
Wow.
crisp notes. Eh?
Yeah.
This is 90s, Uko.
Yeah. So with your classmates and
Which classmates? Me, I was for spending the money by myself.
Okay.
So when I was living well. And so I was like, when you have money, you spend it.
right.
And you spend it well. But I also knew there were hard times. And in the hard times, you made do with what you had.
Yeah.
So later on, as things became tough, things became difficult, I saw my mom go through a very hard time when dad left us for a while there. And I saw my mom go through a very difficult time. And that made me make certain decisions. When you move from Karen, with all due respect,
Yes.
to Ronga before Ronga now.
Oh.
That is like Ronga in the 90s. Eh?
Yeah.
And then you move to like the back of Ronga.
Okay. Close to the forest.
Literally, to the back,
Yes.
literally. And then you move from a 4-bedroomed house
Yes.
with all amenities inside to a 3-roomed house
Wow.
where your kitchen, toilet, and bathroom are outside. And then when you think it can't get worse,
Okay.
it actually gets worse.
Oh God.
To a 3-roomed house with a pit latrine and no water inside the house.
Wow.
And those were just rough times.
Yeah.
And I remember that shaped my thinking. I was like, this life, I do not
don't want
intend
it.
to live it ever again.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how you saw the spend when you have it, chop it while you have it.
Chop it when you have it.
Yeah.
Live well.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how things will work out later. But I also knew I was going to have to work like crazy so that this
Yeah.
is never my story.
So how did that impact you when you got married? Or when you were dating? What were the stories you were telling Ruguru about as you plan? You
Stories?
Know? And yeah. How you're going to make her wealthy and rich and yeah.
Hey, there's a picture of me wearing some white pants.
Yeah.
They were creamish pants. They were oversized. In fact, I used to literally, the belt is what used to hold them up.
Oh.
I had an oversized jacket, which was checked, and I had a black shirt. And I think that was my best look at the time. I don't know how this girl even saw me. But I remember when we met, she was the loaded one. She was the one with the money.
Yeah.
So that we even started dating. She was buying the fast coffees.
Yes.
She was the one with the money because I was out of a job
Wow.
when we met. I was actually out of a job. And I'd been out of a job for 8 months.
Wow.
And that's when we kind of started spending time together. Now, be careful the prayers you pray. I had prayed to God that, Lord, the person I'm going to marry needs to find me when I had nothing. Why would God take some of these things seriously?
Those are the ones he takes seriously.
Those are the ones. And it's what you said. How do you harmonize love and marriage and potential?
Yeah.
And Rogoro, here you are. You are dating potential. What have you seen? What is that impact looking like?
Let me tell you. See, I told you, God put it in such a way that you were foolish enough to actually, but when they say love is blind, that's the part they're talking about.
Oh, that's right.
Because otherwise, if you saw what you're, it's for, the good thing is, when he says I was loaded, it just means that I could buy the coffees. Well, the truth is I was living in my own house.
Yes.
But, in fact, and just to say, is those coffees? I started making them in the house after we got married.
They changed because reality checked in.
We are problem solvers. We fix problems permanently.
Yeah, buying a coffee maker is cheaper than buying the coffee
every day.
Anyway, so how? What was your question? How did you
see your parents handle the money and reconcile that when you got married?
So my parents' handling of the money. My parents were civil servants, teachers.
Yes.
One was just a more teacher in the college, and the other one in primary. And so the money, any money that was there was always assigned, if that makes any sense. So my parents invested well early. But then that investing well early was when us guys were there. So now is when now they are reaping the benefits of the investments that were done when we were there. So me, all these things that my kids are now enjoying until they go to Costa every year. What are those? I took myself to Mombasa. Like there are things that were never and there are things that we never. There was nothing extra per se. We lived in our own home. We had a car throughout my childhood, so clearly we were well. We went to school. School fees was paid. Maybe not at the beginning of the term, but by the time we were doing exams, it was paid. In fact, for people who are teachers, those guys took all 4 children through private university. That's fascinating how they did it. So how they handled money was that any time that you asked for money, unlike his father who gave 200 crisp notes, there was never money. The answer was simple. Hakuna pesa. And my dad, his answer was, go ask mom. Then mom will say, Hakuna pesa. It's really that simple. So if you whine enough, you might get what it is. So in fact, I remember clearly after we had been married for a little while, and I remember at some point, I think we had like 500 bob. And we both were going to work every day to the office. And I remember thinking, how in the world did my parents used to go? I go 3 days before camp and say, Daddy, we're going for camp and we need 3,000 bob in the 90s. And the guy actually used to remove it. I'm like, a child walks here and tells me such things. Yeah, first I will beat you. How long did you know that you needed? I was like, how did they do it? They had 4 kids, man. I couldn't have possibly have been the only one who used to ask for money suddenly. So for me, when I think about it, my parents, even to this day, if I ask my mother now, Mommy, can you give me? The answer is Hakuna pesa. Now, of course, now I know better. I know there's money.
But it's for the future.
But it's for the future. It was always for the future. So how did that affect the way that I think it's a bit of both. Now I'm just like, hey, we can't live for the future because the future comes with knees that don't work. And so there are places I might not be able to go. In the future. So I'm just like, so let's balance. Let's strike the balance. So for me, I think that's that. We strike a balance.
I know you guys deal a lot with couples, and especially now that you have a church and there's a whole community. What do you tell someone who is dating and maybe whether or not maybe they've moved in together, but are thinking, let's invest together. They're not married, but a lot of young people right now, and Rogoro, you've seen that as you do with the young people, is that let's buy this car together, let's build this house together. So CJ, what do you tell someone at that position?
There's some real conversations that need to happen. First of all, how is it that you're not married? And the reason I'm asking that is this. You're kind of doing married things. There's this commitment that you're steering clear of, but you're binding yourself with all these other things that are also very close to your heart. So you're binding yourself with your money, you're getting land together. Land is not like a piece of paper you'll tear and say, you go with yours, this is mine. So there's some serious commitments that you're making that require some deep conversations. And I think it's important that then people begin to ask, where are we going? I remember we were 28. We were 28 and we were in a jav, in a mat, in a matatu, and heading to one of our homes. I think we were heading to Buru. I didn't think I have a home. I don't think I had a home of my own yet at the time.
Yeah.
No, for me, I think it was just a house because when she came in, then she made it a home. Anyway,
I love it.
Bonga Prince.
I didn't think I had a house or a hiding place yet. And I remember, we're like, so what are we doing exactly? What's this thing? This spending time together,
Let's define.
spending each other's money, mostly yours. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to be a big deal someday.
Yeah. And you are a big deal.
You know?
Yes.
So where are we going?
Yeah.
And I think that was a moment of reckoning. What do we call it? Defining the relationship. Because that then meant everything we are doing from here henceforth is towards this big thing. And as much as it seemed like a simple conversations between two broke 28-year-olds in a jav, it was a defining conversation. We kind of set the goal. And I think our relationship shifted from that level. There's something about making those commitments and you're about to invest your hard-earned resources with someone who you're not yet sure where they want to go. And there's something about talking about it, unpacking it. It builds trust. So if you're already living in the same house, you're sleeping together for crying out loud, fix it. Have the conversation. Where are you
Do
going
the right thing.
with this thing?
Yeah.
And align everything. Right.
I love it. So, Rogoro, you're here and you've had this conversation and you have gotten married and he's still trying to figure out the money and all those things. How do you remain humble when, as a woman, you're earning most of the money?
That didn't last that long.
But we have people who, that's happening now. You know, you find someone is saying, okay, I love him for maybe he's a farmer, but it's seasonal because in this country. And then you're the one with the corporate job. You're the one with the money. As a woman, how do you remain humble?
So I think this is the part where we then agree that once you get married, it's not your money, my money. It's our money.
Oh.
So we have a pot and we bring the money
Together.
to the pot. And then we both agree what it is that we're going to do with the money. Once you get that part figured out, then it's no longer about who put how much when. Because that thing that you're saying, I'm earning more, you're earning less, it always changes.
It flips?
It flips.
Yeah.
Throughout that marriage, it flips. And the reason why then you need to know it's our money is because that job that you're sitting over there
It's not permanent.
It's not permanent. It's not permanent. So if now you're starting to say, but I'm the one, I'm the one. Tomorrow, what are you going to do tomorrow when suddenly the farming, becomes the next best, thrives and becomes the next best thing? What then, does that change? So the best thing to do is to bring, and I'm not saying, go and open Sijuyanga, and it's probably a good thing. Probably open a joint account. I don't know, however it works for you. But the bottom line is, this is how much I earn, this is how much he earns. Let's put it on the table. What is it that we are doing together? Do we have, where are we going as a family, like you said? What is it that we are here for? What do we exist for? What is it that our family mission is?
People have family missions?
People have family missions.
Okay.
So what is it that our family exists for? Every marriage exists for a reason. So what is the reason for your coming together? Now, beyond yourselves and having babies and having sex and whatever, what is it? What is it that you exist for? And then now start planning towards that. So for example, those things that you're saying, you're dating, you want to buy a house together. Okay. If you're married, then you can be able to say, we want to own a home in, the Ndegwa, I don't know, somewhere. For the simple reason that that's the area God has called us. Maybe I want to be an MP in that area.
Yes.
So then we need to have a home in that area. Then that's something, I want to be an MP because I want to help, whatever it is that you're doing. Because as a family, we are, like as a family, we are in training. Both of us are actually in training.
Yeah,
as a family, we're in leadership. So Sijenis are leaders. So where are we heading in this conversation so that you're able to say, what our first thing to do is we are not going to buy a home, we're going to invest. So then, now I'm not going buying every other piece of land with my chama.
Money.
With my chama money. Because we've agreed that what we're going to do is invest so that we can Then you're moving in the same direction. Most times couples are moving in opposite directions.
Yes.
Him is buying land, me I'm buying cars. Shoes. Him is now, when he starts buying cars, me I now start buying land. We now have 15 acres of land in 10 different places, none of it which has been developed.
Yeah.
All of it now is just, assets, yes. But those assets are going to be for our children's children.
Yeah.
They may never, in our old age, we'll just be there looking at our pieces of land and wondering. So you have to actually agree. And that's the power of agreement. Once you agree, once you're able to say, what we earn, by the way, is 100,000. What we are going to do with this 100,000 is 1, 2, 3, 4. That doesn't mean that I won't be able to buy my red bottom shoes. We just need to agree this is how much you have for your red bottom shoes. But don't ask for any more. But the point here is agreement.
Yes. So your money needs to talk to each other.
Your money needs to get married.
Your money needs to get married.
That's right.
I love that. Yeah. But CJ, I have a question for you. Sure. Even as much as the money is getting married to each other, what is the place of self-development, of self-growth? For instance, I want to go to school.
Yeah.
Or it's my season to, I don't know, big things. I want to print a book. I want to do all that at the expense, quote unquote, at the expense of rent, school fees, and things. So what's the place?
Wow. Self-development is critical to become a value-adding agent to this thing we are doing. So we are married, we're doing a family. Self-development is critical. However, it needs to be part of the plan.
Okay.
It needs to be part of the plan.
Yeah.
The pot we are working on is this one. It is one pot. So who's going to school now? Who's waiting? Are we all going to school? What does that look like in terms of our money generation? There's a thing about goal setting and setting life purpose where sometimes we make a mistake and set goals that are not connected. It's very important that your goals are set in accordance with a bigger vision. And when your goals are set in line with a bigger vision, then they are all leading to the same place.
That big vision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why that conversation is very important. Where are you going? I was about to say it in Q. Where are you going?
Where are you going?
Do I want to go there? And this is very critical for the ladies. Do you want to go where this guy is going?
So do I answer that question when I'm outside or inside?
Outside.
You answer that question when you're outside.
Okay.
Do I want to go where this guy is going?
Is going. Yeah.
If you're already in the situation, then the conversation now is, here I am, let me align.
Okay.
Because that is just the order of things. Okay. So do I want to go where this person is going? If yes, then what does that look like?
Okay.
And that's not a decision he makes and you make. That's a decision you make
together.
Which is why those deep conversations are very critical. And that's why for many churches like ours, we have a marriage preparation program, which you call Ndoa, where you come and you have those conversations that we otherwise wouldn't have.
All right. I think we need to go on a break.
Okay.
But that has been a very exciting conversation. And talking about have this conversation before you get in.
Yes.
Before you get in. So we need to go on a break. And when we come back, we continue with this conversation about couples and cash. So don't go very far. See you right after the break.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store, respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back to Heartfelt Conversations with me, Waithera Kibinda, your favorite thought provoker and conversation starter. So if you're just joining us, where have you been? We are joined by CJ and Rogoro, married. They have been married to each other for the last 16 years. And today we're talking about couples and cash. Keep talking, keep giving us feedback. So welcome. I hope you have your notebook. I hope you have your coffee with you and you're engaging with us in this conversation. But even before I go back to them first, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to our partners who sacrificially give to ensure we continue keeping Jesus on the airways. And guess what? You can be part of that great network by just typing the word partner to 20316. And I promise you, someone in my team, in our team, will get back to you on how we keep Jesus on the airwaves. So this is Couples on Money on Heartfelt Conversations. And CJ just told us something very loaded, that as a woman, before I make this commitment, I need to ask myself, am I willing to go where this man is going? And Rogoro, I want you to answer that question.
Yeah.
As a woman, how did you answer that question and agree to get married, and then your money also gets married?
The Bible says that the man is the head.
Yes, he's the head.
Yeah. So in today's day and age, as the modern day woman, we're just like, you and your headship, cheers. But the truth is, the man is the head.
Wow.
And it doesn't mean that we will always go where he wants to go. That's not what it means. But as a woman, you need to be able to know whether you subscribe to what it is that this man is actually planning on doing. So say, for example, if you're a woman and you get married to a witch doctor.
Bad example, but yeah.
Bad example. No, it's on purpose.
Yes.
That really, you have entered into witchcraft.
Yeah.
Is that, can we all agree that?
Wow.
Yes. But why do we think the other side is not true?
True.
If I get married to a pastor, I have a choice. Of being a part of the church. This was not
all
my...
right.
It's not really.
I didn't sign up for this, but now
I didn't sign up for this, but
Yeah.
So the truth is, and the other way around also is true. But the truth is that you need to be able to subscribe to what it is that if God... Now, how do I give this example? So, for example, when God always speaks to the head, regardless of where it is.
And I'm sure feminists are now shooting you.
Let us look in the Bible.
Yes.
Okay, when God needed to speak to the people of Egypt about the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of lack, who did he speak to? Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Was Pharaoh a godly man?
No.
In fact, Pharaoh did not even know what God was saying.
Yes.
So God then sent the godly man to come and say what it is that he was saying. But he could have spoken to Joseph. Joseph would have had clearly, I know exactly what this thing needs. But what would have Joseph done inside the prison that he was in?
Nothing. No influence whatsoever.
Nothing whatsoever. He had to speak to Pharaoh.
The headship.
The headship. So whether you like it or not, the head of your family is your husband.
And all the women said, yo.
All right? So it is then important, knowing this now, it is important for you then to subscribe to where he's going. Because if you don't subscribe, your life is going to be difficult for a long time.
Yeah.
Which is why he said, do you really want to know? Because before you enter the marriage, imagine you have a choice of saying,
I'm not going.
I am not interested.
Yeah.
And then you can go and find one that then is headed in a direction that you would like to go.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes,
so
it does.
Even, he says, I had always said, my dad is a pastor. I'd always said this story of people in your house. Yeah.
Now you are it.
This story of people in your house, there are always people in your house coming in and out. I don't know what. I don't want. But the truth is, I was also in ministry when we met. We met in a ministry.
Yeah.
So I was also in ministry. So yes, I was, I had all these things. Now I'm older and wise.
16
but
years
it was for me. It was not a deal breaker. If it was, then it would have been because I saw it coming. He was in ministry anyway. So now that he's a pastor, who is surprised? So that's what it means. So for me, I think it's just important for women to think through it, especially young girls. The rest of you who are all married, pray to the Lord.
Yes.
Pray that God is going to help you to align. Because unless you're planning on leaving the marriage, this is the road you chose.
Yes.
If you're not yet in the marriage, please
ask this
question. Where are you going? What do you see yourself doing in 16 years?
Yes.
So that you know that's a deal breaker for me. I'll never go in that direction. Because what happens the day God comes and says, you move to South Africa and be missionaries? And then I
didn't sign up for this.
I didn't sign up for this. You're married.
Yeah.
So do you remain with your children? Does he go with the children? Are you going to go to South Africa and refuse to do what God has called you to do?
Yeah. Have the conversations before.
Have the conversations.
But what is a place, CJ, of trust?
Wow.
First, as the headship, but also, I think all that combined.
There is a common saying that trust is earned.
Yeah.
I want to burst that bubble.
Oh.
Trust is first given.
Trust. Okay. So you give the trust.
You choose to trust. And then you begin to build the environment and then trust thrives.
Yeah.
I must trust my wife and hope that as we continue in this journey, that I'm creating an environment where trust can grow.
Okay.
Trust is a flower. This is just coming to me now. I've not heard this anywhere before. If it's out there, I promise I've not read the book.
Yes.
But trust is a flower.
Yeah.
And it blossoms in the right atmosphere. There must be light. There must be honesty. There must be an environment where people are sharing what they're going through, what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, and what they want to see. Trust also needs good grounding, solid ground. In fact, John Maxwell talks about the law of solid ground, that it wants to have stability. The ground can't be shaky and shifty. It needs to be stable. And trust needs an environment where people, it's a conducive environment. It's very difficult to create an environment of trust with conflict and this sense of we are constantly pushing and pulling.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. You don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why you're doing it. Trust cannot grow.
So that said, with trust and getting married, because a lot of that is happening, and then you find he or she has debt. So do we inherit the debt? Or is it not? Are you problem? Do we? So I can see Rogono
Are you inside? If you're inside, you inherit. You're in
inheriting
it.
the debt.
You remember that thing we talked about? Where is this person going?
Yeah.
If you do not have that conversation before you get in, it's coming to you.
Wow.
It's coming to you because you've decided, let's keep this thing safe. It's not safe unless you're having the safety measures in place. And it's so interesting. If the conversations are not happening, something I was teaching about today called radical candor, we were talking with leaders, and really trust thrives in an environment where we are talking about the issues.
Not skirting.
If you're unsure about something, ask the question. Clarify. Seek clarity. Define the relationship. Don't assume that we are going in this direction. There's a saying out there that I won't repeat here, but it's in the word assume.
Taking advantage
if you assume, you'll make something out of the two of us. But basically, don't make assumptions. Ask the questions. Have the conversations. Sometimes it's annoying, the questions that we are being asked. But answer the questions. Come on.
Yes.
If you can't answer the question, there is a problem.
Because I want to know, how did you get into debt? What did you do with this money?
Exactly.
Ruguru, from a woman's perspective.
And of course, from a place of love.
Oh,
kindness.
there's love.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's love got to do with it? So I was going to say, there's actually in our church we have classes for marriage, before marriage, Ndoa. And one of the things that has been added since we all did Ndoa, is there's actually a time where you come and together with your facilitators, you come and bring everything to the table. We discuss the deal breakers, like the thing that I was never going to tell you. I am now going to tell you. What does it do? I was shocked myself at this particular, because those are, and someone is like, I mean, what could it possibly be? And the truth is, if you tell me, I am not a virgin, for example, I probably already knew that, small things. But then I do have a ridiculous amount of debt. This is the point at which you say such things. This car, this house, this name, it's all debt. It could get worse. It could be, medical issues. It could be babies that are being raised by mummies. It could be anything. But what it does, and that's where I guess if everything is put on the table, then you're able to say, okay, I am entering this marriage with my eyes wide open.
There's no joker being hidden.
There's nothing that will be sprung on me. I won't go to their shags and then look and say, that child looks a little bit too much like you. Then 3 years into the marriage, you're told, oh, yeah, so my son... So somewhere, it won't be it won't be sprung on you. So that's where he's right. You have to cultivate it, but you at some point then, and don't be foolish. I think many of us we enter foolishly. We're like, oh, if I ask him those questions, he's gonna leave me. Let him. If for real, if you ask. Or do you have debt? Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you
What's
have,
the source of your wealth?
Where is the source of your wealth? If you ask all those things and he refuses to answer, red flag. People are always talking about red flags everywhere. Find the red flags. Dig until dig until you either find the red flags or the green ones. It's really that simple. Because for a lot of us, we're like, no, I don't want to. He might leave
to rock the boat.
So let me tell you, it's better a broken relationship, a broken engagement than a broken marriage. Because a broken relationship, it was just an ex. A boy that I dated, that no story. A broken marriage.
Wow,
even heavy. The courts know. The government knows there was a name. This one involves many people, including the government. So you want to really... So the whole trust thing... It's given, it's earned. I think it's both. You give the trust because from the beginning, the moment you accepted to, I don't know, I love you, I will be your girlfriend. Yes, you've given the trust. And then from there, just work on it. Determine what is it that you're actually getting yourself into. It really helps to be able to keep the trust.
I love that, because then it brings us to a question. I said, we pack a bit. Boundaries. And for whatever circumstance, we know his parents, her parents need money. So how do we draw boundaries? Because you've heard of people who will pay school fees for their siblings, for their cousins, for their nieces and nephews, and somehow it maybe brings in resentment from one of the parties. How bold and how Italicized are those boundaries? CJ, I'll ask that question.
I like that question for this reason. You I don't know if you noticed in my introduction, I am first a husband, then a father. That's very deliberate.
Okay.
This is the first most important relationship after this, after me and God. All right? Then this relationship,
you and your
wife, we discovered these other humans we live our lives for, called offspring, will leave us at a certain age over there.
Last scene heading.
And the only other person that will die for me is this one. Hopefully.
Things do change.
Things do change. And I'm hoping I'm doing everything right that come the time. And it's important that I cultivate this relationship. So coming back to your question, a man must leave his father and mother. Must. The assumption here is that the woman already left
Okay.
and must cleave to his wife. Now, why is that problem? Why is that conversation very important? Why did the Bible have to insist
The man
on that
leaves.
conversation? Because that is a very difficult thing.
For a man to leave.
Because a man is first a provider and secondly a protector of the home. As young men, as they grow up traditionally in African tradition, they reached a certain age where they stopped becoming children and they became the providers and the protectors of the home. And that's why it was important that the man's mind was reminded, you live and cleave as you create now your own home. That is how humanity progresses. If the man stays in his mother's home, there's going to be trouble.
Wow.
Okay? So, that happening, they become one.
One, yes.
And going back to that conversation, we then now decide, so how are we doing this thing?
Yeah. Who said that we're giving more money?
Moving forward.
Yeah.
Who said are we giving more money?
Yeah.
And that's a very important question, Waithera, because there's this approach or mindset. These days I'm choosing my words very carefully.
Important. It is important.
There's
Christ
this
dwells.
approach, and I probably should call it fallacy,
Yeah.
that we have to give both sides equal. No. This thing is about equity or equitable, not equal.
Equality. Okay.
Because it's about where is the need more. Because if we're giving more, the same to both sides, one side is more needy than the other.
That's true.
That means that one side is deprived from the situation or deprived. And so it's important that as a couple, starting their marriage or starting their life together, you decide. So, and that's why the disclosure is critical. I pay school fees for 10 of my people. And it is expected that I pay school fees. I was parent number 3. I was parent number 3.
Yeah.
So after the parents they've done their part, they educated me. I take over for the rest 7 until a certain age. It's important that in the disclosure that comes out clear. And that is why these conversations we have about couples and their money is clear, because money is one of the leading causes of divorce.
Wow. And I want to peg that with you, Rogoro. What's the spirit behind, what's the spirituality behind money and how you engage with it? Is there any connection, spirituality and money?
Money is a tool. Money is a tool. Bottom line. There's nothing in this world you can do without money.
Money.
There's a pastor, a friend of ours, who says, when you see a need and you don't have money, all you have is concern.
Oh wow, yes.
So if you're hungry,
Yeah.
and you tell me you're hungry and I have no money, I'm very concerned.
Oh my God.
That's it.
Yeah.
But when I have money, I can now give compassion.
Oh.
Yeah.
Concern moves to compassion.
Because then I can do
Something about it.
There's nowhere that people have ever spread the gospel that they spread without money. At the very least, even if you're walking there, you will need to eat. At the very least, if you need a microphone, you will need electricity. That microphone, you will need to buy it with something.
That's true.
You just spoke about it just now. The givers, the partners that give you this place. This ministry has been held up by people who have. So
for the last 25 years, I must add. Yes.
Money is needed everywhere. So that's the spirituality of money. That is, life is spiritual. So if you need money for life, then money is spiritual.
Yeah.
For you to be able to do anything as an individual, as a couple, as a church, as a business, it doesn't matter. The way that we are able to exchange anything in our world is using
money.
Our money. That's our exchange currency. So that's what it is. That's it.
How do I rebuild after, I'll call it financial infidelity? How do we build together as a couple? CJ.
How do we build together?
Is it like a 10 point process 3 number 4 will shock you.
It actually begins with where we started. It begins with a conversation.
Why?
Let's stop and ask ourselves, where are we? Why are we here? Let's pause. Let's stop. Let's assess the reality
The elephant in the room.
of our situation. How did we get here?
Because I couldn't talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Or
And that's the starting point.
Yeah.
And there's a great program that we run called Couples and Money.
all right.
Actually helps couples start to have those conversations.
Those hard conversations.
Exactly. It just starts with, first of all, we are different. Our personalities are different.
Yeah.
Those personalities and temperaments cause us to do life, to engage with money
Differently.
Some of us would rather hold on to it. Some of us would rather not deal with it. All right? Some of us would rather just spend it.
Chop it.
Those are all different personalities.
Yeah.
And we have those conversations. We talk about debt. We talk about the stages of money, by the way. There are different stages of money. We talk about the lack of it. We talk about the abundance of it.
Yeah.
And how to go about all that. So first, pause. Assess where you are. Then get into a program. Some financial literacy.
Yeah, hey.
About how you can manage
To get out of that.
it starts with a conversation.
Yeah.
A couple that can't talk to each other won't even come into a class together. And if they can't come together, they're not about to fix their money problems.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
No matter how learned they become about money, if they're not doing it together. As a couple, they can't fix it.
Rogoro.
You know, my favorite part of Couples and Money is the class where you're actually taught, literally, you're given, how do you have a money date?
Oh, their money dates?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
How do you have a money date? Where we go out, not in the house where the children are running around saying, Mommy this, Mommy that.
No. Yeah.
We go out, we sit and talk about money. And there's a step by step. You know that step by step you are saying? There's
Yes.
a step by step. You ask the question, then the other person speaks. In fact, you learned this indoor. The other person speaks, and then you be quiet, and then after that you say, "What I hear
you say, oh God.
and then they confirm that that's not what I was saying actually, and they say it again until when you agree, yes, that's what I was saying. And the idea, and we always say the idea is have conversations, money with, talk about money without issues.
Yeah.
Nobody crying,
emotions.
no emotion in this story. Let's talk about it. Let me say it until you hear me, and let me. Some people walk into their first money date with, we are going to talk about I have 17 things. I asked and you did not. Then they come back and say, we actually only talked about one thing each.
Yeah.
But that one thing
It's important.
it was important, and it has solved 15 of the 17 things that we were actually going to. So being able to actually have the conversations. If you don't know how to have the conversations, we go to school for everything else except things in marriage.
Yeah.
We never prepare for marriage. We never prepare for dealing with children. We never prepare for dealing with money in marriage. We never take a class. It honestly, it's not
that
expensive.
simple.
Yeah, just take a class. If you can't find one Couples and Money is a class, but I'm sure if you just go on the internet and say, class about money,
you'll find one. Yeah.
But more importantly, do it together. Do it together.
Don't leave the other person behind.
Yes, so that you're having the same conversations. How are you going to have a money date by yourself?
My friend says, read books, read or do those things. So that the conversation, you don't sound like an ambulance. Wow.
Maybe I just want to throw something in there.
Yeah.
If you want to do life alone, stay alone.
Stay alone.
Yeah.
Don't bring someone else's child.
Don't bring somebody else's child. You want to do life alone?
Do it.
Stay alone.
So now, CJ.
If you want to do life with someone else,
Yes.
then do it properly with someone else.
And do it right. I think that's one of the things you've been emphasizing. But unfortunately, we need to wrap up this conversation.
Yeah.
Good things really, really do come to
You
an end
know.
so fast. But it's so that something else can start. But I want you to give a parting shot to especially a guy listening to you has been thinking, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And how do I balance out? How do I become vulnerable and say, this is where I am at? This is the kind of business I am doing. Yes, as you give us your parting shot and leaving legacy for your children.
So as a Jama, first of all, I just want to give you a big up and say, you are made for greatness.
Wow.
And so begin by realizing that as a man on this planet at this time, you're made for greatness. And there's many destinies waiting for you to just find that place. find good help. Reach out to a man you respect and admire that is doing life in a way that inspires and encourages you. I mean, reach out to me, reach out to us, and you can get in touch with Waithera and she'll reach out to us. And begin by opening up and having a conversation with someone. Get help. As I've shared my challenges, as I've talked about what I'm struggling with, I have found help. Talk to someone, because God has already positioned someone out there with the answers for your challenges.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Talk to someone. That's your takeout.
Talk to someone.
Talk to someone, and we'll have all those details here. Rogoro, even as you give your parting shot and end with this conversation, women have that account called the Kafagwe account. I better die before you know I have that account. Talk to a woman and give us your parting shot.
I am going to be very unpopular, but that account is not necessary. I'll say this with caution, because I do realize that women have been taken advantage of. There's a lot of women that have been stolen from by said husbands.
Yes.
You gave everything, he took it and went and married another woman.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Which is why we have to go back from if you're not yet married, figure out where this man is going and whether this is going to work out for you. You know, there are some people, you saw the red flags, but he was cute, he had money, I don't know what, you went in.
Yeah.
So if you're not yet married, then figure out whether this is something that you know, this is where you want to go. If you're already married and you're in a situation where all has gone, you know, then save yourself, I think, is what I would say. If it has already gone, then what did you call it?
The Kafagwe account. I better die.
Maybe might come in handy. But for me, I've never had the account, but it's because we've been able to talk the entire time.
So talk
many times. The money that he was supposed to use, I don't know for what, which he didn't use for, we still talk. I'm annoyed, but we still talk. The money I was supposed to use for, I don't know what, and I didn't, we'll still talk. He's annoyed, but
we'll still
talk. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Sit down and talk about it. Many people are already in trouble as couples. You're already in trouble. She went, I don't know, she did what, I don't know, he went, he got us into some kind of debt. Now that's where what he was saying comes in. Find help. Go to your pastors, go find a counselor somewhere,
a therapist
somewhere, but talk. This whole thing for communication is most important in marriage. It's true. Just talk about it, because there are so many couples that have gotten to the end of their lives. You thought you were fine. Until now the person has left you in debt. That now you have to pay, and everything you thought you have is taken away. You know, and I think even for us as individuals, before we even talk about the other person, this is the mother of your children, the father of your children. And that's how what you do to them, tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So what you do to them or against them will directly relate to your offspring. If you're in debt and you're not dealing with it and you're just getting deeper into debt, if tomorrow you fall, your offspring. So remember at least that much. If for no one else, do it for the children.
Do it for the children.
But I think to bring is get some help.
Yeah.
Get some help, get some good help. From there, you should be able to then move to the next level. And hopefully, because many people, how many times have these rich people who have gone bankrupt 1,001 times?
Yeah.
The issue is not where we are right now. But if you keep it hidden, then you won't be able to solve it. So talk.
I love it. Unfortunately, we have to come to an end, and I love the parting shot. Talk. Get help. No need of side accounts. So for this and more, I'll see you guys next week. But before I say goodbye, I want to say thank you to the amazing team that brings the magic, that brings the content. The guys behind the scenes, they do an amazing job. I want to say a big thank you to our partners. Thank you. Thank you very much for partnering with us and ensuring that we keeping Jesus on the airwaves. I want to say thank you to CJ and Rogoro as pastors, as parents. I think you're a great light as coaches, and people will definitely reach out. So we can find you, David Sijeni.
Yes.
on all platforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sijenyi.
Yes.
David
and
O. Sijenyi.
David O. Sijeni and
Rogoro
Rogoro.
Geshoke Sijenyi.
Rogoro Geshoke Sijeni
Somewhere
on
in there.
all platforms, or just send us a text on 20316 and we'll let you know how you can meet them. But also a big thank you to God for allowing us to have heartfelt conversations with me, Waithera Kibinda. So until next week, it's cheerio. Bye-bye.